Hey guys, a quick video for our modern Japanese architecture playlist. So during the economic boom in Japan in the 80s and 90s, they built lots of cheap apartments like those ones. And over the years, they've slowly been getting demolished because they're getting a bit old and a bit sad. So previously, in front of us here were more of those buildings. However, they demolished them all and they've turned it into a housing estate with some really tiny blocks. And it's a little bit of a shame because it's up really high on a hill and it does actually have a pretty amazing view out over the countryside and out over the ocean. However, it's sort of sad because the way they do it is they divide up into lots of tiny blocks and run power lines everywhere. And the end result will be that probably nobody will have that view because they all block the view from each other. So it's a bit of a shame, really, if you had a decent sized block up there. But it's just not the way they do it. The average block here is probably about 140 square meters, something like that, 150 square meters. Tiny little blocks. We've showed you this sort of thing before. Usually just enough for the house with 1 meter between the house and the boundary all the way around, and then parking for maybe 2 cars at the front. So just tiny little blocks, really close together, all the houses really close together as we showed you before. And then these poles here, they'll string loads of wires in between them as well. And so the end result, probably 2 years from now, will be loads of tiny little houses all beside each other and power lines all over the place. So a bit of a shame, but it's just the way they do it, you know. People don't seem real keen on having big blocks of land anyway. This is sort of out in the countryside too, by the way, where you could actually buy a block of land, a decent sized block of land somewhere else. But these estates, they never have decent sizes in the estates, always tiny blocks. And that's what most people want. They just want sort of like apartment living, tiny little house on a tiny little block, hardly any gardening to do, if any. So that's what's coming there. Anyway, there was that. More videos coming soon.